Alright, today we're going to extend this idea of using the geometric mean. Now, we're still going to have altitudes in our problems. We're still going to use the geometric mean. But we're looking at a different type of problem. So yesterday we used the loop to figure out our problems. Today we're not going to do that. Today our problems are going to have the same picture basically, but we're going to really have to look at what we have so that we know that we're solving a different type of problem. And that's going to make a little bit of sense here when we talk about how to set it up. Okay, so recall this is from yesterday. What's unique about the right triangle and the altitude? Well, we get 3 sets of similar triangles. Okay, and we talked about this yesterday. We have the big one, A, B, C. We have the medium one, B, D, C. And we have the small one, A, D, C. Okay, so here's our 3 triangles. What we're looking at today going to be the same idea. We're still going to have the geometric mean, but it's a little different because we're going to have a value over here instead of here. Yesterday we had to have a value on the altitude. Okay, that's how we use the loop. That's the key, using the loop. Today we're going to have a value on, it could be either on this side or on this side, but we're going to have a value on the leg. Okay, so let's talk through these differences. Yesterday we had a value or a variable on the altitude. We used the loop on these problems. That's how we set it up. From end looped around over to the other end. Okay? And that altitude was the middle part there. Today, altitude will be there. Okay, it's going to be in the picture. It's important to the problem. It's important because it's going to tell us where to start, really. It'll be in the picture, but there's going to be no value or variable on it. Okay? The leg, one of them will have a value or a variable. And that's going to change how we solve it. Now, we can't use a loop for that. Okay, so what do we use? We're not going to draw a loop because there's nothing on the altitude to help us set up the problem for this one. What we're going to use is something called the bounce back. Okay, now it's a little different. What we do is we start at D. We start here where the altitude meets the hypotenuse. And that's why we have to have the altitude in the picture, so that we know where that point is. So we start here at the altitude, and we're going to bounce around and then bounce back. Okay? Now, I went this way, I went to the left because I was assuming that I have a value there on AB. If for some reason I have a value over here on this leg, well, I bounce this direction. I bounce to the right angle and I bounce back. Okay? And we're going to set it up in a proportion the same way. Whatever values we hit first from where we started, first, second, third, fourth, that's how we fill in the proportion. Okay? So if I'm looking here, it's going to be DA over AB equals AB over the whole hypotenuse now, A to C. That's important, okay? The whole thing, because we're going all the way over. Now, ties to geometric mean again, because if we look, AB is the same, the means are the same value here. If we went this direction, let's put some letters in here, A, B, C, and D. Well, it would be DC over CB, CB over CA, again, all the way back for that one, the whole hypotenuse of the big triangle. Okay? We're going to use it in some examples. We have 4 examples to go through today. And again, like I did yesterday, I labeled what they were. So it's important that when you look at these problems, you see what you have. Okay? As it will tell you which example to look back at. Well, here we start at D, and I notice I have a value over here on this leg on AB. That tells me I'm going to bounce that direction. So I'm going to bounce from D to A to B back up all the way over to C. Okay? So let's set up our proportion. D to A, that's the first segment I hit. That's 5. A to B is the next one. That's X, bouncing back up that side. So another X, and then all the way across here, A to C, which is 35. Let's cross multiply. X squared equals 5 times 35. It's 175. Now, we talked a little bit about this yesterday. I mentioned it in the video. We have a square here. So these problems would be like this in Schoology, so we need to have the A and the B. If they don't break down all the way, we need to make sure they simplify. So make sure we're breaking this down. Okay, 5 and 35. I used the two numbers I multiplied to get it. 35 is really 7 and 5, so I have 5, 5, 7. It's a bad 7. I get a pair of 5s here. It makes 25. The square root of 25 is 5. It goes on the outside. My 7 stays underneath. So that would be my answer. 5 square root 7. Okay, that would be the value of this leg over here, 5 square root 7. Let's look at example 2. This time we're finding the hypotenuse. Okay, same setup though. I'm going to start here at D. We're looking for that. Bounce over to B because I had a value on that leg, and then bounce B all the way back across the hypotenuse. The first value I hit was 4 and then an 8. I'm bouncing back now. 8 and then X is my whole hypotenuse. Notice I don't have two X's here, so I'm not going to use a square root. There's no way I'm going to get a square root of anything. I just cross multiply and I solve. Well, 4 times X is 4X and 8 times 8 is 64. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. 64 divided by 4 is 16. That tells me my hypotenuse here is 16. Okay? We bounce to the right angle, we bounce back from it. Let's look at example 3. Okay, we have part of the hypotenuse here. Okay, we're going to find a chunk of it. So notice I'm finding this part here. Over here I'm finding this part. Changes how we do it slightly. Okay? Let's do this one first. Start at D. Again, I have a value over here on AB. All of these are bouncing that direction, but we could bounce the other way. We could go through C if we needed to, if there was a value over here. Okay? Bounce, bounce back. First value we hit is X over 15, and we're bouncing back now, 15 over 30. Cross multiply. Since the value is not on the leg, it's not the means part, we're not going to have a square root in this problem. 30x equals 15 and 15 is 225. I'm going to divide both sides by 30. So x is 7.5. And that's this value right here. Okay? One's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. This one, the next one, slightly different. I'm going to change my pen color so that we can distinguish the work here between the two problems. Let's go with orange. Okay, I'm going to start here at D. I'm going to bounce over, bounce back. Now, if I bounce back, I need that whole side there. Okay, well that side, I don't know what it is. I don't know from A to C what it is. I know that A is 3, and that, or sorry, A to D is 3, and D to C is X. Well, I need to know that whole hypotenuse. That's going to be 3 plus X. Does that make sense? Okay, I need to add the two pieces together to get the whole hypotenuse. So when I plug this in to my problem, my proportion, 3 over 6 equals 6 over 3 plus x, because I added the two parts that make up that whole hypotenuse, AC. For this one, I'm going to have to distribute. I have 3 times 3 plus x equals 36. Distribute that. 9 plus 3x equals 36. Take away 9. 3x equals 27. Divide by 3. X is 9. Okay, so a little different here. I'm going to put a star by that one, and this is the only one I have of that type. Maybe on your homework, so just pay attention to it. We had to have the value for the hypotenuse because that is part of the bounce back part. We need to know all of A to C. So again, we added these two pieces together. That's how we got our 3 plus x. Okay? Recap. We want to look at what we have. Now, your homework, they're all going to be the same type today. They're all going to be the bounce back type. But you need to look at what pieces you have in order to look at the example to follow. Okay, so let's go back again. And again, I labeled them for you. Example 1, finding the leg. Okay, this is one where we have to use a square root. We may get a radical in our problem. Okay. Example 2, we're finding the hypotenuse. The variable will be here for you, and you don't have to use a square root. It's going to set up, and we're just going to have to divide. These two, example 3, we're finding part of the hypotenuse. First one here, finding a piece of the bounce back. Second one, you're not finding a piece of the bounce back, so we have to add it to the other part and get the hypotenuse. Okay, that is my advice. If you have any questions, be sure to post them in the discussion board, and good luck on your Schoology assignment.